This is Audible.
Podium Audio presents Forbidden, a standalone in the Whitmore Elite series, written by J.A. Owenby, performed by Alexis Page. This audiobook contains mature subject matter. Listener discretion is advised. Chapter 1. I can't do this anymore, Shay. Ibrahim shifted in the limo seat across from me, clearly uncomfortable. My chest tightened with his words, his thick accent rippling through me, coating my skin with goosebumps and causing my thighs to clench. The only reason I was in the backseat of Daddy's limo with his driver was because I needed to get laid. What? Why? Twirling a lock of my long blonde hair around my finger, I waited for a response. His dark fingers rubbed his clean-shaven jawline. You know why. If your father finds out about us, he'll fire me. Worry lines creased his forehead. Plus, we started fucking when you were 16. I don't want to go to prison. I'm almost 19 now, and we've never been caught. Stop worrying about serving time. It was always consensual. I huffed and crossed my arms beneath my perfect C-cup breasts, the best money could buy. His attention hovered on my cleavage while my lower lip jutted out into an innocent pout, one I'd practiced in front of the mirror hundreds of times. Ibrahim's resistance was unexpected. I contemplated taking a drink from the stocked minibar, but it was Ibrahim I was craving, not alcohol. Fuck Daddy. Lately he's always been working and never around anyway, so how would he find out about us anyway? I leaned over and squeezed Ibrahim's knee. Shay. His voice was deep, throaty, and filled with frustration. I blinked rapidly, tears filling my eyes, a trick I'd learned when I was young that always helped me get my way. Ibrahim, I need a grown man, not some silly teenage boy who thinks he knows how to get me off. A tear fell on my cheek, and I glanced away before I wiped my face. If Ibrahim was serious, then my sex life would dwindle to almost nothing. Besides, we had a good thing going, and I had a good thing going. He'd popped my cherry with his thick cock when I was 16. The guys my age couldn't compete with him. Damn it. I wasn't sure if the waterworks were affecting him or not. I sank my teeth into my perfectly painted red lip, my gaze landing on the bulge in his black slacks. He massaged the back of his neck, confusion flickering across his expression. You know I have to send money to my family in Nigeria, Shay. I can't afford to lose this job. I'll never get employed by another wealthy family. I stared out of the passenger window, my hand running up the inside of my thigh, raising my cream-colored miniskirt. I slid along the U-shape, black leather seat and joined Ibrahim on his side. Please don't do this. I parted my legs, trailing my nails up my thigh, teasing him. Besides, I'm only back from college for a few short months. Leaning over, I nipped at his lower lip and softly sighed. Ibrahim's attention dipped to my thighs, and I lifted my skirt more, revealing my navy lace thong. Daddy is in Paris this week, and Cole isn't home from school for a few hours, so... I didn't bother to mention that my stepbrother would be around for the entire summer. I would have to deal with that problem later. My focus lowered to Ibrahim's erection. Since Daddy isn't here, how about one last goodbye fuck? I fluttered my dark lashes at him and inched closer. Little did Ibrahim know that this was far from goodbye. He couldn't stay away from me. We lived for the thrill of the forbidden. For me, screwing around with Daddy's staff was deliciously sinful. Wrong never tasted so good. Hell, Daddy would rather I stick a blade in someone's gut and spill their blood than start a sex scandal that could topple his empire. And... I closed the gap between us, placing my palm on his muscular chest, then slowly opened the buttons on his white dress shirt. I leaned closer, my mouth grazing over his ear. You took my virginity, so I thought you could be the first to fuck me in the ass. I'd never had anal sex, but I was determined to keep Ibrahim begging for me. I was still nervous, though. I'd heard it was amazing, but I'd also been told that it hurt. Ibrahim sucked in a breath.
Shay, that's...
He moaned as my hand trailed down his muscular abs, then cupped his cock through his black slacks. Do you really want to say goodbye? With a quick move, I tugged off my navy polo top and tossed it onto the floor. I flicked open the front clasp of my bra and slowly slid the straps off my shoulders. My nipples hardened with the caress of the air. Daddy won't find out. My lips parted, then I flashed him an innocent smile. I've been a bad girl, baby. I arched my back, my tits grazing his shoulder. Running my long fingernail over his corded bicep, I peeked up at him through my eyelashes. Very naughty. Ibrahim moaned.
Fuck.
He grabbed my arm tightly.
Do you know what happens to bad girls?
Before I could respond, he bent me over his knees, flipped up my skirt, and revealed my bare ass. The smack against my flesh filled the car as I released a cry. The sting didn't dissipate before he spanked me again. He rubbed my tender skin before he smacked me again. He moved my thong out of the way, then ran his finger along my slit.
You're soaking wet.
For you, baby. It's all for you. Ibrahim fisted my hair and jerked my head back. He could light my body up like a goddamn Christmas tree.
On your knees,
he demanded. I tried not to smile as I dropped to the floor. He flipped open the button on his slacks, his zipper the only sound other than our heavy breathing. Ibrahim gripped my chin and rubbed the tip of his cock against my lips, forcing it between my teeth. I licked the pre-cum before sucking slowly, savoring him.
That's it, Shay. Take it all.
He guided my head as he fucked my mouth. I dug my fingernails into his legs, cursing the material of his pants. This time, I wanted to mark him and leave scratches on his beautiful dark skin. A click reached my ears, and Ibrahim froze. With a quick movement, the limo door swung open, the bright sunshine filling the back of the vehicle. Terror twisted Ibrahim's expression, his eyes wide with fear. Chapter 2.
Sorry I'm late,
Matt said, climbing into the vehicle with the soft scent of roses clinging to his sun-kissed skin. Ibrahim glared at Matt.
Fuck, you scared me.
Matt was our gardener's 25-year-old son, who occasionally helped his father look after the estate. I crawled onto the seat next to Ibrahim and turned to Matt, smiling excitedly. I wasn't sure why he worked for his dad when he belonged on a runway as a model. His sandy blonde hair and hazel eyes soaked my panties every time I saw him. I wiped the corner of my mouth. Maybe working with all those gardening tools had sculpted his arms and chest. Hell, I didn't care how he got ripped as long as I could run my hands all over the dips and valleys of his muscles. A curl flopped onto his forehead, and he brushed it aside, grinning. I leaned forward, ready to get back to playing. Glad you can make it. Matt closed the door and licked his lips.
Show me your pussy,
Matt demanded, tugging on the hem of his black t-shirt, his attention on my slender, toned legs. Apparently, he wasn't going to waste any time either. Since I'd been fucking Ibrahim and Matt, I'd learned something interesting about myself. First, I loved the idea of getting caught. Second, I loved being dominated, which was strange since Daddy had made every decision for me. Being bossed around shouldn't have turned me on this much, but it did. I lifted my skirt and parted my legs enough for Matt to get a glimpse of my thong. Reaching for Ibrahim, I wrapped my fingers around his thick shaft.
Wider.
Matt unzipped his jeans and removed his dick. Chills shot through me, and I stroked Ibrahim slowly while keeping an eye on Matt. In one quick move, Matt knelt in front of me and pushed my knees to my shoulders, exposing me. A deep growl traveled through him as he moved my thong to the side. He ran his tongue over my slit and grabbed my thighs, his fingers digging into my skin hard enough to leave marks. At least they would be high enough to hide. That's it, Matt. I moaned as he sucked on my bundle of nerves. Matt laid down on the floor, indicating for me to sit on his face. My favorite. I straddled his head, then Matt gripped my hips and pulled me down, his tongue inside me, licking and lapping up my juices. Ibrahim hunched down in front of me, unable to reach his full height, but he didn't seem to mind. I wrapped my lips around his cock and sucked him as I rocked against Matt's mouth. Desire pulsed through my veins. I loved having both of them at the same time. Matt dipped his fingers into my pussy, then moved to my ass. Lifting me forward slightly, he shoved his fingers into my hole as he teased my clit. I stroked Ibrahim as heat coursed through my body. Oh God! I ran my tongue around the tip of Ibrahim's cock and peered up at him. I need more, I panted, pulling up my skirt to reveal Matt's face. He loosened his grip on me, and I rose. Matt moved to the limo seat, and I grinned at Ibrahim. "Wanna fuck my ass?" I asked coyly. "Oh, hell yeah," Matt chimed in. I waited for the guys to roll on condoms, then bent over the seat, placing my hands on the wall of the car. Ibrahim rubbed his dick along my pussy, then placed it at the entrance of my puckered hole. "Ready, princess. Just relax," he said, pushing against me. With a quick thrust, he groaned as I screamed. His large palm covered my mouth as he split me in two. Pain jolted every nerve ending in my body while tears clouded my eyes. "So goddamn tight, Shay." A moan escaped Ibrahim as he continued. I whimpered against his hand, regretting my decision. I hadn't even noticed that Matt had sat next to me. He sucked his fingers, then slipped his hand between my thighs, massaging my clit. "It'll be worth it in a minute." Pain bled into pleasure as Ibrahim fucked me and Matt played with my pussy. My eyes closed as I surrendered, allowing the guys to use my body, dominate me, control me. Ibrahim's breathing picked up. Then he jerked and tensed, his hand dropping from my mouth. Damn it, that was starting to feel good. I panted as Ibrahim pulled out. "Matt?" I waited impatiently while the two traded places, and Ibrahim zipped and buttoned his pants before he began to play with my throbbing core. Matt crouched behind me and eased into my ass more gently than Ibrahim had. "Oh yeah, harder." I pushed against him. Maybe Ibrahim had already stretched me out because Matt felt amazing. Ibrahim shoved 2 fingers into my wet slit as his thumb stroked my bundle of nerves. I moaned, basking in the sensations coursing through me. "Jesus, Shay. Ibrahim's right. This ass of yours is fucking tight." I peeked over my shoulder as Matt's eyes slammed closed, pleasure written all over his handsome face. "God damn it." Matt fisted my hair and jerked my head back. Fire ignited in every fiber of my being as I danced on the edge of an orgasm. "Fuck me, Matt." Ibrahim's mouth parted slightly, his gaze still heated with lust. With a hard pinch to my clit, my world exploded, and black dots filled my vision. Matt jerked, and a low, husky sound erupted from him as he came. "Holy shit, Shay. That was some good fucking right there." Matt pulled out of me, then plopped down on the seat across from me. He grinned like a kid in a candy store, removed the condom, then stuffed his limp dick back into his jeans. I collapsed next to him, my body aching but sated from the delicious orgasm. "Smells like sex in here. Ibrahim, you should probably air it out and clean it up before Julia needs you to drive her to the book club meeting or wherever." My focus drifted to Matt. "Don't be rude. Pick your used rubber off the floor so Ibrahim doesn't have to." I nodded at the used condoms and smiled. Matt snatched it off the floor and shoved it into his pocket. He glanced over at his watch, then at me. "As always, it's been fun, Shay. It's time for me to go." He winked at me, then swung the door open and climbed out of the limo. I smoothed my hair, my attention falling on Ibrahim, who appeared calm and content. I leaned over and placed a gentle kiss against his full mouth. Just goes to show you that I need real men, not some egotistical, entitled, rich teenage asshole who thinks he knows how to fuck. I pressed my lips to his, then let myself out of the car, smiling triumphantly. The breeze picked up strands of my hair as I strolled to my car. There wasn't a single doubt in my mind that I would get what I wanted from Ibrahim and Matt. Ibrahim could protest all he wanted, but I knew exactly how to play him. Both of them. After all, I'd had 3 years of practice. The bright Washington sunshine temporarily blinded me as I walked to my BMW i8. Ibrahim always parked the limo in a semi-discreet location, not too far away from the house. It had been our meeting place since we'd started playing around. Once situated behind the steering wheel, I pushed the start button on the car. Humming softly to myself, I grabbed my Gucci sunglasses and slipped them into place. The car's engine purred as I shifted into drive and headed to the house. 5 minutes later, I eased around the circular driveway and parked in front of the 11,000-square-foot mansion. The shrubs were freshly sculpted, the stone fountain cleaned, the grass mowed, and hedges trimmed. The early summer ocean breeze whipped through my hair as I exited the car. I collected my tan Hermes handbag and locked up. When I reached the front door, I punched in my code and let myself in. The faint smell of cleaning supplies tickled my nose as I glanced around. Other than the sparkling marble floors and winding wooden staircase, there wasn't any indications that someone was here yet. I suspected that Cole would arrive in the next few hours. I hadn't seen much of him since Christmas, but that wasn't unusual. Most of the time, he was only home for the holidays and summer vacations. However, he did have a nasty habit of occasionally popping up on our college campus when I least wanted to see him. Julia, Cole's mom, and my daddy had only been married 4 years. Cole and I had been at the age to immediately hate that someone new was in our space. Eventually, I got used to him, but I wasn't his biggest fan. My mouth watered as I caught a whiff of dinner. It was Thursday, which meant pot roast. Annabelle, our chef and housekeeper, was absolutely amazing in the kitchen. It was a miracle I wasn't spilling out of my size 2 clothes. I hurried up the stairs toward my bedroom, mentally checking off my to-do list before I met up with my best friends. First, I needed a shower. Second, I needed to text the girls about the party that night. Grunts and moans caught my attention, my ears perking up. I walked down the hall, my heels clicking on the white marble floor. My heart skipped a beat when I heard my name. What the fuck is going on? No one should be here except Annabelle. The only other bedroom on this side of the house was Cole's. Apparently, he'd gotten home earlier than I had anticipated, but what in the hell was I hearing? As I approached his room, I realized his door was open and peeked in. Cole leaned his shoulder against the wall, his ankles crossed while he rubbed his chin and watched the flat-screen television mounted over the gas fireplace, offering me a side view. He shoved a hand into the pocket of his gray sweats that hung low on his hips. For whatever reason, he was shirtless, and I stared at the collage of tattoos covering his back, a skull with angel wings, a sword, and others I hadn't had time to study. My focus drifted across his rounded shoulders and bulging biceps. It had been a long-ass time since I'd seen Cole without a shirt, and it was clear he'd been working out since last year. Clothes were scattered across his king-size bed, and his suitcase lay open on the white marble floor. The desk between the windows held a stack of books, and the recliner was nestled in the corner near the gas fireplace. The chair was piled high with jeans and shorts. Sucking in a sharp breath, I finally identified the sounds, and my mouth dropped in horror as I realized what Cole was watching. Holy shit. How the fuck did he do it? When were cameras installed in the limo? You recorded me? I screeched. What the hell is wrong with you, perv? My attention was glued to the screen as I witnessed Matt and Ibrahim fucking me. Storming in, I turned off the television and glared at Cole. I asked you a fucking question and I expect an answer. I seethed and folded my arms across my chest, tapping my toe impatiently. He flashed me a mischievous grin.
How was your afternoon, sis?
He pushed off the wall and shoved his fingers through his blonde hair. His glacier blue eyes sparkled against his tanned skin. I stomped over to him and shoved my finger against the tattoo of a panther that curled around a pec and disappeared around his back. The head of the cat sat on the front of his shoulder, mouth open, revealing its fangs ready to strike. I hope you enjoyed the show, asshole.
Oh, I did. Seemed like you did as well. Can't wait to tell Daddy Dearest what you do in your spare time.
Amusement flickered over his expression. A burst of anger shot through me. How fucking dare he try to blackmail me? With a quick flick of my wrist, I slapped Cole across his face. Don't threaten me! What do you want, and where are the goddamn cameras and recordings? I didn't give a rat's ass how he pulled this off, but no way in hell could he show Daddy or Julia. Julia would insist the situation be handled before someone found out, and Daddy had a scandal on his hands. He would cut me out of the will, and I would lose my inheritance. Cole's nostrils flared as he stepped forward and forced me against the wall. He glowered at me, spilling hate with each breath. His nose brushed my ear, and his minty breath fanned across my cheek as he wrapped his fingers around my throat, cutting off my oxygen. I dragged my fake nails across the back of his hand while I gasped for air. Cole had a reputation for a short temper, but he'd never pushed me this far. Cruel and sadistic flashes appeared and disappeared in his eyes.
Keep your fucking hands to yourself. And a word of advice. End it, princess, or I'll show good old Dad every second of the recording.
Our gazes locked, and I fought against him, clawing at his arm and leaving red, angry marks on his skin. Suddenly, images flashed through my mind of Cole thrusting into me from behind while he choked me. Damn it, what the hell was wrong with me? My stepbrother? My sight began to fade as he squeezed harder. Jesus, he was going to fucking kill me, and I was aroused. Cole dropped his hand and I collapsed. My knees smacked the hard floor as my purse slipped from my shoulder. I peered up at him, coughing and gasping. He sneered at me as he adjusted himself, chuckled, and walked away. I pulled myself up, dazed and confused about how the limo situation and arguing with Cole had taken a sharp turn. Cole Parker, my asshole stepbrother, had just choked me, and from the looks of him adjusting his dick in his pants, enjoyed it. More than that, my core throbbed with longing as I recalled his touch and the proximity of his mouth to my sensitive neck and ear. His confidence and domineering attitude rolled off him in waves, intoxicating me. He wasn't the same boy who had left for college, not mentally and not physically. Instead, he returned a goddamn man, and my hormones were the first to notice. Wobbling on my black Louboutin heels, I placed a palm against the desk to steady myself as I removed my shoes and darted across the hall to my room. I disliked Cole before, but after he had just threatened to blackmail me, I hated him now. At the same time, I needed my head checked because his touch had lit me on fire. If he stormed in here, flipped up my skirt, and fucked me senseless, I still didn't think my body would be satisfied. Maybe a night with him. Jesus, stop! He's your stepbrother, for God's sake! Quietly, I closed and locked the door, then rested my forehead against the frame, scrambling for clarity. I had a huge-ass problem I had to stay focused on. One thing for certain, no one, not even family, fucked with me and got away with it. I was a Wessex. I wasn't a princess. I was a fucking queen. It was time to put Cole in his place once and for all. Chapter 3. My favorite room in the house was my bedroom. For some reason, it felt safe and secluded from the rest of the mansion. I'm sure it had something to do with the calming light blue, white, and navy color scheme. The bedding, the chair, the rug, everything weaved together with a delicate balance. Fiery anger ripped through me as I tossed my heels near my desk. Rummaging through my handbag, I located my phone, then dropped my purse on my king-size bed and stomped to the bathroom. If that bastard left marks on my neck, I would destroy him. How dare he film my extracurricular activities with Ibrahim and Matt, then have the audacity to put his hands on me? Discarding my leather skirt, polo shirt, and lace bra and thong, I stood in front of my full-length lighted mirror. I tilted my head up and to the left. Red welts glared against my pale skin, but I didn't think it would bruise. My mind whirled faster than an F5 tornado as I turned on the shower. Within seconds, steam billowed over the top of the glass wall. In my opinion, I had the best bathroom, other than Daddy and Julia's. The vanity counter was the same white and black marble that ran through the sprawling mansion and provided tons of space for my makeup and hair tools. My favorite feature, other than the double sinks, was the clawfoot soaker tub near the window that overlooked the neighborhood. In the fall, every tree leaf turned a bright orange, red, or yellow. If I had time, I would soak for hours, sip a good glass of wine, and read a naughty romance novel. I hadn't had the leisure since I'd started at the university last September, though. Locating a fresh towel, I placed it on the heated holder before I walked under the hot water. Not only did I reek of sex, but this was also the best place for me to relax. Fear knotted my stomach. Cole had made it clear he would show Daddy the recording, but why would he even care? What was in it for him? It wouldn't mean more money when Daddy died, so what was the fucking problem? Who I fucked was none of his business. I lathered my long strands of hair, the rose petal scent reminding me of Matt. Unable to stop my smile, my mind returned to my afternoon threesome. My body was sore, but it didn't sway me from wanting Ibrahim and Matt. Next time, I would have to make sure there weren't any cameras around. Annoyed all over again, I sifted through the possible reasons for Cole's blackmail attempt, but I continued to come up blank. Once I was clean, I turned off the water before I reached for the warm towel. My cell buzzed with a text. I quickly dried off, moisturized, then collected my phone from the counter. I grinned as I read the message from my bestie Zoe. "Bitch, don't be late tonight. I know where you live. I'll drag your ass out the door by your hair." I rolled my eyes at the message, laughing as I texted her back. "I just showered. I'll be ready in plenty of time. Come on over, though. Need to chat." The little black dots flickered on my screen as I waited for her response. "Let me grab my shit for tonight. Be there in 20. BTW, this better be something delish to pull me away from Emily in Paris." I sure as hell wouldn't call Cole choking me delish, but I needed to tell someone about it in case he ever killed me. "You'll survive. See you in a few." Locking the screen on my cell, I left the bathroom and headed to my closet. My bare feet landed on the plush cream carpet, the silk fibers tickling my soles. When Daddy proposed to Julia, we moved to this house. Mine and Daddy's previous home was gorgeous, but we didn't need a lot of space. However, with the addition of 2 more people, Daddy thought it would be best to start fresh. At first, I objected, loudly. I'd lived in Cherrywood Place since I'd been born. More than that, Mom loved it there. But she was gone, so living in our old house together was just a faded and agonizing memory. Choking on the painful memories, I busied myself searching for what I wanted to wear to the party. Harrison lived in a mansion on the outskirts of town where the elevation was a bit higher. The 10 acres had an abundance of trees, and the evenings always cooled off quickly. A dress wasn't the best choice. I ran my fingers along the drawers that held my jewelry, lingerie, shoes, and handbags. The second I'd seen the bedroom with the large bay windows and the window seat, I was leaning toward choosing it, but when I saw the closet, it was a done deal. The built-ins included white shelves and dressers, several rows of hanger space, and 2 full-length mirrors. But the best part was the sitting area with a pink chaise lounge. It was too early to get dressed for the party, so I selected a burgundy robe and slipped it on. Zoe would be here soon, and I couldn't answer the door undressed, not with the perv's bedroom right across the hall. I sank my teeth into my lower lip as I realized he could watch me naked any time he wanted, at least until I deleted the video. Shit, what if Cole set up a camera in my room? Over the next several minutes, I frantically checked every light, book, corner, under the bed, and any other spot I could think of where he could have hidden a recording device, but I didn't find any. If that son of a bitch had installed cameras in the limo, or had someone do it for him, there was no telling what he would do next. I hated that our bedrooms were so close together. A quick knock alerted me that Zoe was here. Cole or Annabelle must have let her in. Securing the sash around my slender waist, I hurried across the room, then flung the door open. "You got here fast." Tension coursed through my body as my attention landed on Cole, and I forced myself to relax my shoulders. I would never let him know he'd scared me earlier. "What do you want?" I placed a hand on my hip and leaned on the frame, consciously attempting to appear calm, even though I wasn't. Cole's ice blue eyes slowly trailed from my lips to my breasts, my stomach, my legs, then returned to my irritated gaze. "I realize you've seen me naked, but please try not to be so obvious when you check me out." Cole's jaw tensed, the muscle in his neck popping. I'd hit a nerve. "Didn't it gross you out to see your sister getting fucked? I mean, what does that make you?" I placed a finger on my chin, appearing deep in thought. "Oh, a fucking creeper." I grabbed the door to shut it in his face, but he blocked it with the toe of his combat boot. "Call me whatever you want." He pushed his way into my bedroom, his expression stone cold. I gulped but held my ground. Cole shot me a menacing stare. "Sterling texted me. He said that you're going to the party tonight." Sterling, Remington, and Cole had basically grown up together. Anderson had moved to Washington from California. He joined the high school football team and met the guys a few years ago. Although they never got caught, I suspected they were in all kinds of trouble. "Yeah, and?" "You're not going. If I see you there, I'll have you removed." His eyes narrowed as he peered down at me. His wide shoulders shadow my petite frame, blocking my view around him. He changed clothes since I'd encountered him earlier. His black t-shirt stretched across his broad chest, his muscles flexing as he moved. My pulse stuttered against my wrist as the scent of his Tom Ford Neroli cologne invaded my senses. Out of obligation, I'd bought him a bottle for his birthday at the beginning of the year. "You're delusional if you think you can have me tossed out of Harrison's party. It's an annual event to kick off summer vacation. I've attended since I was 15. I huffed, irritated at Cole's audacity. "Not this year, princess." Without another word, he spun on his heel and left. I fisted my hands and groaned as he walked away, his designer jeans hugging every curve of his ass and muscular legs. If he weren't such a fucking asshole, he would be panty-soaking gorgeous. He still soaked yours. I scowled, then reminded myself that if I didn't want obnoxious 11s when I was older, I had to stop scrunching up my forehead. Stomping over to the door he left open, I grabbed the knob and prepared to slam it closed when Zoe's giggle reached me. I poked my head into the hall, my mouth gaping. "Look who's all grown up," Cole said, gently squeezing Zoe's shoulder. "I'm not the only one." "Damn, Cole, could you try not to look so hot?" Zoe asked, pushing her lower lip out slightly while she tucked a piece of her hair behind her ear with a "fuck me, please" expression on her face. He flashed her a lopsided grin. I'd forgotten how beautiful his smile was because I rarely saw it. Jealousy reared its nasty head, and I kicked the green-eyed monster to the curb. Why in the hell was I feeling like this? Cole had stomped all over any hope I had that there might be an ounce of goodness in him. I clenched my teeth together, pissed that I was having to call out my best friend for practically throwing herself at Cole. "Zoe." My tone was sharp. Her head snapped in my direction, and she appeared startled, as if I'd caught her with her hand in a cookie jar. I waved Zoe into my room. Cole tipped his chin up before he tossed me a salute and walked away. Zoe strolled over to my bed and dropped her brown Gucci duffel bag on it. Damn, when did he get so gorgeous? Zoe fanned herself, her manicured red nails catching the light. I stared at her, befuddled that she was suddenly Team Cole. Just because he came home after his first year of college looking like a god doesn't mean you get to bang my brother. Step, babe. He's your stepbrother. And to clear the air, I'd let him lick and fuck my pussy all damn day. My nostrils flared. You're taking this too far, Zoe. I plopped on my bed, pain shooting through my ass. Hopefully I wouldn't be as sore tomorrow, but that definitely wasn't the case at the moment. Salty much? She quirked a dark eyebrow. Glancing at the floor, I answered her with silence. I would never admit I was jealous of Cole being nice to her because I refused to admit it to myself. Hey, what's wrong? You've never given a shit that I thought Cole was gorgeous before. Zoe joined me on the bed, her doe-like eyes searching mine. Zoe was one of the most beautiful females I'd ever seen. Her long, black hair flowed past her shoulders, and she had a slender body with tits and an ass any guy would drool over. Not to mention her perky nose and a deep tan I had a hell of a time getting myself. She'd been captain of the high school cheerleading squad for 3 years in a row, which was virtually unheard of, but she was that good. Her parents had put her in gymnastics and dance lessons since she could walk, but she had a lot of natural talent and a fun personality that drew people to her. Zoe took my hand in hers. I know that wistful look. Spill. My head buzzed with my churning emotions, deciding how much I would tell her. Then the events of the entire afternoon spilled from my mouth. Zoe's expression morphed from shock to irritation to gawking. Once I was finished, she hopped off my bed and paced while she waved her hands in front of her as though she were trying to piece it all together. I assumed it was so she was clear on which part to chew me out about first, since she didn't have a clue about what I'd been hiding. I hadn't wanted to share my personal enjoyment of the staff with anyone. It was much more fun to have a dirty little secret that was all mine. Unfortunately, Cole's recent discovery brought huge consequences, and I needed help from my best friend. Finally, she turned to me and placed her fists on her slender hips. What the fuck, Shay Wessex? Zoe only used my full name when she was pissed at me. I was afraid to say anything. I'm sorry. I gave her my saddest puppy eyes, hoping she wouldn't be mad at me for long. We had a party to attend. I didn't give a shit what Cole had said. How long have you been screwing Ibrahim and Matt? She shook her head in bewilderment. If Cole tells your dad... She smacked her palm against her forehead. Ibrahim since I was 16. I cringed, waiting for her to rip me a new one. Shit. Cole can't say something to Daddy. I flopped onto my bed, wet strands of hair sticking to my back. Her mouth hung open, then she slammed it closed, her teeth clicking together. Girl, I can't even... You haven't said anything for almost 3 years? She squeaked. Until now, there wasn't any reason to. I couldn't afford to chat about it. It was too risky. Risky? You want to talk about risky, Shay? Cole fucking Jennings recorded you banging your dad's limo driver and the gardener's son. We have to get our hands on that video and destroy it. Then you can cover your ass and make it up to me. Her forehead creased and her gaze narrowed. I wasn't surprised that she was pissed at me. If the roles had been reversed, I would have been upset with her too. It was a bit of fun, Zoe. I didn't mean to hurt you or make you mad. Ibrahim is hot as hell, and he's got a huge cock. He's addictive. He's not a high school boy trying to figure out where the hole is. This was another reason I didn't want to tell Zoe. I didn't want her to scold me like I was a 2-year-old that didn't understand my decision or that what I'd been doing was wrong. Zoe snorted. God, I actually can't blame you. But fucking the hired help is a big no. Her shoulders slumped forward for a second, then she plopped down next to me.
Promise me no more, Shay. It's not worth losing your inheritance over. Let's figure out what we have to do in order to erase the proof so you're not cut out of the will. Girl, we have plans, and you can't travel the world with me if you're a broke-ass bitch.
I blew out a guilty sigh. Obviously, there are cameras in the limo. Cole barely got home for the summer vacation, so they had to have been installed sooner.
I wouldn't put it past him to have talked to one of his friends into helping him. But who and why, though?
Drumming my fingertips on my thigh, I racked my brain for the answers. Zoe was right. Cole had access to the limo like I did. While in high school, I was constantly leaving a book or my backpack in the car, so Daddy had keys made for all of us. Cole could have easily given his copy to someone.
Babe, I think you got played. I have no idea why Cole would do that in the first place, but everything that gorgeous, hot hunk does has a purpose. He's cold and calculating.
No shit, but I have no fucking clue what he's up to. I covered my face with my hands, wishing I could rewind the events of the day and make different choices. But it was too late. Daddy had always taught me to admit my fuck-ups and fix them. I still didn't have an issue playing with Matt and Ibrahim, but my fun was officially over since Cole had stuck his nose where it didn't belong. One thing was clear. I had to get that recording and destroy any evidence before it ruined me.
Cole said you're not going to Harrison's party tonight?
Zoe asked, pulling me from my thoughts. Like I'm going to listen to him. I sat up sulking that he was around for the entire summer. Shit, he'd only been home for a few hours and he was already making my life unbearable.
Of course not, but while we're there, I'll keep an eye on him and see if I can steal his phone so we can locate and delete the video. But for God's sake, Shay, don't fuck Ibrahim again.
Shh, keep your voice down.
Sorry, I'm obviously still processing and pissed at you.
She folded her arms over her chest and glared at me. I kissed her cheek. Don't be mad. If it had been you keeping a secret, I would forgive you. I leaned my head on her shoulder.
Ugh, I know you would, but don't kill my buzz. It's difficult being angry at you, so I'm going to hold on to it for as long as I can and make you suffer.
I giggled. Love you, Zoe.
Right back at ya, bitch.
She placed her head on top of mine. Over the next few hours, we took our time getting ready for Harrison's party. Zoe had selected a pair of light-washed jeans, paired with a black crop top that revealed her belly button piercing, the small diamond winking in the light as she moved. Zoe rifled through my closet and tossed a pair of dark-washed skinny jeans with a plum-colored, off-the-shoulder shirt onto the chair. I smirked and placed my hands on my hips and tapped my toe against the floor. I wanted to wear something brighter, but Zoe reminded me I needed to blend in since we were on a mission to grab Cole's phone. I'd messaged Annabelle to bring some snacks and drinks for us while we analyzed every possibility of how to erase evidence of my sexcapade. Hopefully, Cole hadn't uploaded it to the cloud yet. Unless he'd changed the passcode, I still remembered it from when we were home during Christmas break. He hadn't realized that I was standing behind him with a clear view of his screen when he'd unlocked it. Maybe fate was on my side after all. Butterflies ran amok in my belly with the exquisite thought that I was about to strip Cole of the power that he'd held over me. Karma was a bitch, but so was I. Once we were ready for the evening, Zoe headed downstairs to chat up Cole while I snuck into his room and searched for the recordings or his phone. At least it was cleaner than earlier. I wasn't expecting to find anything, but I had to try. I hurried to his desk and glanced around. Nothing. Tugging on the top drawer, I peered inside, but only found pens and pencils. I chewed on my bottom lip and pulled on the bottom one. It wouldn't budge. Damn it, you shit! Where are you hiding? Zoe and Cole's voices reached my ears, and my heart broke into a gallop. If he caught me snooping, I would be in deep shit. I rushed to his dresser and quickly rummaged through his boxer briefs. Nothing.
Wait, Cole.
Zoe called out. Fuck, I muttered. Not only was I out of time, but how was I going to sneak out of here undetected? I tiptoed to the door and carefully peeked out. Cole and Zoe were at the bottom of the stairs, holding hands. I clenched my teeth, willing myself to keep my mouth shut. Cole tipped Zoe's chin up and smiled. Seriously? I took a few steps out of his bedroom, leaned against the wall, and folded my arms across my chest, glaring at them. Cole would assume I was irritated with my best friend because I hated him, and he was right. But why did Zoe have to flirt with him? I knew she had to distract Cole, so God only knew why it bothered me. Why did I give a flying fuck that Cole was hot and probably amazing in bed? Stop! Zoe would be thrilled to learn I would need her help with distracting Cole at the party later. The trick was to get his phone long enough for me to unlock and search it. Lucky for us, Cole loved to drink and smoke. After an hour at Harrison's, he would most likely be wrecked, which would make stealing his cell much easier. Zoe's words continued to cycle through my brain. She was right. Cole was cold and calculating. He was definitely up to something. Cole and I hadn't been close by any means, but he'd never been brutal and vicious before either. An asshole, yeah, but he'd never laid a hand on me. My biggest complaint about my older brother was that in high school, he and his friends had constantly cock-blocked me, forcing me to lose my virginity to Ibrahim. I'd been over the moon when the quarterback, Nick Perry, asked me out when I was only a sophomore and he was a senior. I'd accepted and couldn't wait to shop with the girls for my date. Then, the next day, Nick texted me and canceled. It wasn't long before the rumor started to circulate that Cole and his friends had told Nick to back off. It hadn't taken me long to realize Nick had no balls if he couldn't stand up to my stepbrother. Every girl wanted Cole, and every guy wanted to be him. So when he said jump, they jumped, rolled over, and bowed. He still tried to control my life, but I didn't see him as often now that we were in college. Granted, the same one, but it was big enough that we only saw each other occasionally. The question I desperately needed the answer to was why? What had changed? Little did I know, I would seriously regret learning the answer. Chapter 4. Harrison Swanson's threw the best parties. Easier Than Lying by Halsey shook the mansion's walls as we entered the foyer. Current and soon-to-be college kids littered the hallway, drinking and making out. It never failed that someone, usually multiple girls, got knocked up at the summer kickoff event. Zoe and I started to make our way through the gyrating bodies when a hand gripped my bicep and tugged at me. Seriously? I barely walk through the door and Cole sees me? I glanced over my shoulder, my attention landing on a gorgeous brunette.
You made it, bitch!
Isabel jumped up and down, her drink sloshing over the edge of the red Solo cup. I threw my head back and laughed. When have I ever missed a party? Isabel looked adorable. She was one of the few people I knew who could get away with wearing an orange shirt, but her skin glowed when she did. She flipped her hair behind her shoulder, her hazel eyes flickering with mischief before she pulled me in for a big hug, then grabbed Zoe. Isabel, Danny, Sybil, Zoe, and I had all known each other since 3rd grade. We were the inseparable 5. In fact, we were all attending Whitmore University in Oregon together.
Where are Danny and Sybil?
Zoe shouted at Isabel over the music. Amsterdam by Nothing But Thieves thumped through the speakers. Isabel shrugged.
Who knows? You know that they love to make an entrance.
The bass vibrated through my body and I grinned. A little fun before my mission was in order, since I had no idea if Cole had arrived yet. Zoe, let's grab a drink. I'm thirsty and ready to shake my ass.
Babe?
Zoe tugged on my hand.
Look up.
My gaze traveled over the people, up the winding staircase, and to the level above us. Well, fuck. David Graham, the quarterback for Braden High, was leaning against the railing, his attention zeroing in on me. He ran his fingers through his light brown hair, then tugged on his navy t-shirt. Although the girls liked to look their best, the guys were dressed a lot more casually. Some sported basketball shorts, while others wore jeans. David's denim hung nicely on his hips and hugged his muscular legs as he descended the stairs. I tossed him a wink and waved, smiling at him. David had been asking me out since we ran into each other over Christmas break, but I just wasn't into dating guys my age. There was no doubt he was drool-worthy, but in a few months, we would move back to school in opposite directions. Attachment wasn't in my vocabulary. Playing was. Have Sybil or Danny texted you? I asked Isabel as David continued to move in our direction, his brown eyes sparkling as a lazy smile eased across his face.
Not a word. I'm sure they'll be here any minute.
Isabel took a drink, then giggled.
The alcohol is in the kitchen. Go grab some.
Ladies,
David said, slipping his arm around my waist and pulling me to him. I placed my palm on his chest and peeked up. Since Cole had ruined my summer fun with Ibrahim, maybe I would have to reconsider David. There was no shame in admitting I had a healthy sex drive. We're about to get a drink. Want one? I asked.
Yeah, I need a refill.
He raised the red cup to his lips and drained it.
Was that Cole I saw a while ago?
My heart plummeted to my toes. I had to lay low until Zoe was ready to find him and snatch his phone. I have no idea. He's home for the summer, but that's all I know. I gave him a pinched look, not wanting to discuss my stepbrother. I glanced up, then grabbed Zoe's arm. I pointed to the dark-haired beauty standing at the railing upstairs, Blair Sable. The corner of Blair's mouth kicked up into a sneer, and she wiggled her fingers at me in an uppity wave.
What's she doing here?
Zoe asked, her tone clipped and guarded. Blair and I had hated each other all through high school after her boyfriend tried to sleep with me. Of course, Cole had stopped that really fast, but Blair refused to believe that nothing had happened. She found it necessary to start slut rumors about me, and in retaliation, I filled her locker with used tampons, and our hatred for each other continued for years. No idea. Didn't realize they let the dog in the house. Zoe and I snickered, then I turned my back to Blair. She didn't deserve my attention. Zoe edged closer to me.
I'll see if I can locate Cole.
I nodded and mouthed, "Good luck." Desperation pumped through my veins. My plan had to work. That video had to be deleted no matter the cost. Zoe snuck off and beelined to the opposite side of the house. If Cole was here, he could be anywhere, including one of the 10 bedrooms. Usually, Harrison would keep his parents' bedroom locked and off limits, so that left 9.
Damn, look at the people waiting for drinks.
Isabel grumbled, pointing to the long-ass line leading into the kitchen, where Harrison had spent a fucking fortune on every kind of alcohol imaginable.
What do you want to drink, Shay? I'll be happy to get it.
David grinned with his offer. I wondered if he hoped to ply me with liquor, then attempt to get into my pants. We should do some shots to celebrate our graduation, I replied.
I know just the thing.
David winked at me before he headed to the kitchen. I scanned the area and grinned as I spotted familiar faces. Looks like our girls have arrived. Excited to see my friends, I pointed to the white double doors, noting Sybil and Danny waltzing into the 11,000 square foot manor. Isabel waved at our friends until they spotted us in the sea of people. Danny's big blue eyes filled with excitement as she located us, and she flipped her blonde hair behind her shoulder.
Wow, this is insane!
Sybil yelled over the music as she approached us, looking smoking hot in a black fitted dress that hugged every curve on her body. Harrison's party gets bigger each year. Sybil hugged me, then Isabel.
That's because the graduating class at Hargrove High is the largest they've ever had.
David explained as he approached our group carrying 4 cups.
Here you go.
I took one from him and sniffed it. What is it?
Cherry whiskey. You'll like it.
His attention stayed glued to me. A slow smile spread across my face. I downed the shot, the alcohol hitting my throat, burning a trail down my esophagus to my tummy. Sybil's emerald green eyes sparkled as she and Danny laughed, and David handed me another one. She tucked her straight brown hair behind her ears as she studied me. It's good. Tipping my head back, I drank the second one. My body tingled, and a giggle erupted from me. Are those yours? David chuckled and gave me one of the 2 remaining cups.
You can have one of mine.
Oh, I want some.
Sybil grabbed Danny's wrist and tugged her toward the kitchen.
Be right back, Shay.
Get us a few, I yelled at her. When she returns, I'll give you one since you shared. With that, I downed my third. Damn, that's good. I sighed as the muscles in my neck and shoulders relaxed. David threw his head back and laughed. I figured it was a safe bet. He polished off his remaining drink, then collected our cups. Instead of locating a trash can, he propped them up in the corner for the cleanup crew to deal with. Buzzed and happy, I nudged him in the ribs with my elbow. David was several inches taller than I was and a solid wall of muscle. Candy Shop by 50 Cent pounded through the speakers. I raised my palms above my head and began moving to the pulsing rhythm. David's heated gaze swept over my breasts and my stomach, locking on the zipper of my well-fitted jeans. Let's go. I gripped his arm and led us to the center of the area where bodies gyrated and people's attention was roaming across the crowd while others were groping asses. People would start finding rooms and corners to fuck and make out in another few hours. David placed his hands on my waist as I seductively swayed to the music. He slipped his leg between mine, moving in perfect sync. His fingertips slid up my side and arm. Tingles rippled through my body, teasing all the right places inside me. I hated to tell him he wouldn't get in my pants that evening, but then I remembered that I couldn't go home and find Ibrahim to fuck me senseless. My good mood dissipated as I realized I might have to find someone new over the summer. David certainly wasn't a bad choice, but I would consider my options later. Cole had to be taken care of first. A little harmless flirting wouldn't hurt anyone for the evening, though. David rubbed against me. His hard-on was obvious. I glanced down, my tongue darting over my lower lip, the alcohol encouraging me to let loose. I turned, backed up to him, and closed the gap between us. Sybil and Danny returned, laughing and dancing through the crowd with multiple cups as David slid his arms around me, pulling me closer. Here, babe. Sybil gave one to me. David. I held the cup up for him. Sybil immediately passed me the extra drink she was holding. As I downed it, warmth flowed through my body, and I continued to move to the music. Isabel, Sybil, and Danny danced around us. It only took a minute before a few college guys spotted them and joined in. David's arm gripped my waist, and he swayed to the beat of the bass. I leaned my head against his chest and allowed myself to relax. It felt damn good to chill. Final exams had been a bitch, and I was ready to have some fun. The alcohol had clouded my mind, but I didn't care. I was tired of thinking. David eased away, allowing a small gap between us. I arched my back, my ass rubbing against him as I continued to tease him. Realizing he hadn't touched me again, I turned toward him and ran the tips of my nails up his abs. As I looked up from beneath my eyelashes, my blood stopped cold. Cole. He stood tall and rigid, glaring at me, his blue eyes sending ice through my veins. What did I tell you about the party, Shay? He growled. I backed away, dropping my hands from his stomach. A curious crowd began to form around us. David and my friends were watching as well. You can't tell me what to do, Cole, so drop the big brother act. I smirked. Fuck, if Cole is here, Zoe won't be able to get his phone. You don't want to defy me, Shay. You won't like the results. Cole's brow lifted in a warning. Seething, I placed my fists on my hips. You're a straight-up asshole, and I refuse to let you bully me. Laughter floated in the air, but I didn't care. Cole couldn't push me around. A malicious grin eased across his face as he stepped back, then cupped his hands around his mouth and yelled, Don't let Shay fool you. She might act all high and mighty, but... Cole stared at me and paused. The princess likes to get fucked up the ass. Embarrassment burned up my neck and cheeks as I gaped at him in horror. How do you know, Cole? A male voice asked over the snickers. Several guys were making lewd gestures and murmurs of slut traveled through the crowd. Cole's smile widened. Normally, I don't kiss and tell. Cole tossed up his hands, smirking as though it was all a silly game to him. He's lying! I never screwed your brother! A girl called out, practically cackling with glee. My chest cracked wide open, and my heart bled all over the floor. How could he have humiliated me in public like this? I had officially met the end of my social life. Cole looked down at me. Had enough, Shay? Fuck you. Take your cheap shots, but you will not control me, ever. I poked him in the sternum with my fingernail for emphasis. Have it your way, then. Cole bent down, wrapped an arm around my thighs, then tossed me over his shoulder. My scream split through the music as I slapped him on the back. Put me down, Cole! To my horror, he ignored me and strutted toward the door. The sea of people parted, their snickers and laughter filling the air. Quickly, I checked his back pockets for his phone, realizing this was the perfect opportunity to grab it. Nothing. Both of them were empty. Zoe must have it. Thank God. I knew my girl would come through for me. Humiliation washed over me as he stepped outside and onto the front porch. Remington closed the door, and only then did Cole set me on my feet. I gasped and sputtered as I brushed the hair from my face. What the fuck is wrong with you? Do you get off belittling people in public? The left side of Cole's mouth kicked up in a smile. I told you I would toss you out if you showed up. My molars ground together. What's your problem? You've been a total bastard since you got home. I've done nothing to you, so why do you have it in for me? Cole's focus fixated on my breasts, his tongue darting across his lower lip and a spark flashing in his ice blue eyes. I glanced down. One of the buttons on my blouse had popped open. I suspected it happened when he threw me over his shoulder like a bag of potatoes. I quickly fixed my top, then returned my attention to him. Maybe I needed to try a different angle. I mustered up as much sincerity as I could. Listen, I know we've not ever been super close, but we've tolerated each other. What went wrong? Tell me and I'll fix it. At least long enough to make sure the video is deleted from existence. Then I'm going to fucking bury you for what you did to me. Cole closed the gap between us, his expression stony and unreadable. He ran his hand up my arm, then he tipped my chin up, our mouths so close I could taste the alcohol on his breath. He gripped my side and dug his fingers into my flesh, sending delicious chills over my skin. I sucked in some much-needed air, my breasts grazing his well-defined chest as heat pooled in my belly. Oh my God, what was he doing, and why did I like it? Cole forcefully turned my head, his soft lips skimming my ear. I whimpered and gripped his toned bicep for balance. He pressed his hips against mine, and a low moan escaped him. Then he jerked away as if touching me had burned him. His features twisted in disgust as he pinned me with his heated gaze. You happened. He dropped his hold on me, then backed off. Go home, Shay. He spun around and disappeared into Harrison's house. Fuck you! I twisted my fingers, ready to yell additional profanities in his direction, when my phone buzzed in my back pocket. Finally, Zoe. I mumbled as I removed my cell. Undiluted fear seized me as I focused on the message, and I stood rooted in place. Chapter 5. Tapping the screen, I expected to see Zoe's text that the problem had been erased. Instead, my voice came through the speaker, followed by Ibrahim's and Matt's. I flung the front door open and stopped in my tracks, the cool air from outside drifting into the foyer. Everyone was glued to their phones. Then the large flat-screen television in the living room flickered to life. I could literally feel the blood drain from my cheeks as I stared speechless at the scene of Matt eating my pussy as I sucked Ibrahim's cock. Hoots and hollers filled the space, and astonishment ghosted over everyone's expressions. What the hell? Zoe was supposed to erase the video, not send it to the entire fucking world. Zoe, Isabel, Sybil, and Danny spotted me near the entrance. Zoe's face had paled, and the other girl stared at me in disbelief. Tears welled in my eyes, and I stumbled backward as they approached. How could Zoe have done this to me? Cole had already shamed and embarrassed me. Wasn't that enough? Zoe knew what was at stake. Even though she said she couldn't stay mad at me, it was obvious she planned to pay me back for not telling her about Ibrahim and Matt when it first started. Other than Cole, Zoe was the only person that knew about the video and what it could do to me. I spun on my heel and bolted out the door. My best friend had just ruined my life, and my other friends hated me.
Shay!
Zoe yelled after me. Fuck you! I screamed as I headed in the direction of my car, my heels scuffing against the cement of the driveway. Shay, wait! Sybil called. My shoulders shook with sobs as I attempted to locate my BMW through the unwanted waterworks. I glanced over my shoulder, but the girls hadn't come after me. They were standing on the porch, watching me stumble around in the dark. I retrieved my key fob from the front pocket of my jeans and hit the button, listening for the beep-beep. There were so many cars, though. Even if I found mine, I might not be able to get out. I tried again, searching for the blinking headlights. Finally, I located my car, but I couldn't go anywhere. I was blocked in. A frustrated scream ripped through me. Wiping the moisture from my cheeks, I sucked in a deep breath. There was no fucking way I could return to the party. I could either lock myself in my BMW and sleep in the back seat, or see if I could find Harrison's guest or pool house. It would be warmer in one of those places, plus I could hide until the crowd started to clear out. I stepped off the concrete driveway and onto the lush green grass. If I remembered correctly, the guest quarters were to the left of the main home, but the alcohol had messed with my brain, leaving it fuzzy. My heels sank into the soft dirt, and I swore under my breath while I struggled to maintain my balance. Anger and betrayal knotted my stomach. I ground my molars and remained focused on my path. My cell buzzed in my hand, but I silenced it. Whoever it was could go fuck themselves. Nearing the edge of the tree line on the opposite side of the property, I frowned and studied where I was. Apparently, I'd managed to get lost. I tried to map out the estate in my head, but I wasn't familiar with anything else other than the main house and pool. Low voices pulled my focus toward a thick grove of trees. It was so dark it was difficult to see. Thank God for the flashlight app on my cell. I held up the phone, spotting a cleared path. The guest quarters must have been nearby. With a spark of hope, I trudged forward. A glow burned ahead, and I followed what appeared to be a light. Reaching the edge of the large clearing, I slowed. Several motorcycles, including Cole's, circled a group of men, the dark area lit by the headlights. I ducked behind a tree and hoped I hadn't been spotted. The hint of stale cigarette smoke and oil tickled my nostrils. I scrunched up my nose at the disgusting smell as I counted 8 dudes, all wearing a similar vest with a burning skull on the back. My attention landed on a guy on his knees. Blood streamed down his face, and his right eye was nearly swollen shut. What the hell is going on? I crouched down and watched in horror as the men simultaneously kicked and punched him repeatedly. The sound of crunching bone turned my stomach, and I grimaced, but no matter how much I wanted to, I couldn't turn away. Finally, the guy collapsed to the ground, unmoving, and the group parted, allowing me to soak up the rest of the scene. A scream nearly escaped me, and I slapped my hand over my mouth as bile churned in my stomach. Blinking rapidly in an attempt to clear my vision, I stared at the bikers again. A tall, burly man stroked his chestnut beard before he patted Cole on the back.
"We'll take care of the mess, Cole. Don't worry about it. We'll get to the bottom of it all."
Cole placed his hands on his hips, blood trickling across his busted knuckles.
"Let's hope it's in time to protect my family."
Cole stabbed the toe of his boot into the ground, staring at the crumpled man in front of him. My forehead creased in confusion. He clearly meant Julia and Daddy. He made it crystal clear that he hated my guts. It was mutual, but now I had something on him. I realized that Cole murdering someone right in front of me could definitely work in my favor concerning the video. Shivers racked my body as it finally dawned on me that Cole was standing in the middle of a motorcycle gang. I scanned the area, identifying a bike with a burning skull on the side, matching the leather vests. Shit, Cole was in big trouble. He just killed someone. My stomach churned in horror as I stared at the bloody and broken guy on the ground. "And Shay?" the burly dude asked. A pinched expression twisted Cole's features. "She's mine. I'll deal with her." His response was cold and clipped with anger. "Let's take care of the situation before it gets out of control any further." A lanky man with dark hair spoke. "Get out of here, Cole. We got this." "All right. Thanks, I appreciate it." Cole hugged him, then hopped on his motorcycle. It roared to life, the sound of the engine splitting through the night. The burly-looking one gave him a helmet, then approached Cole again, but I couldn't hear what was said over the deafening rumble of the bike. While the noise covered my movements, I removed my shoes and hurried away from the group. If they found out I'd witnessed a murder, I would be the one that turned up dead next. Jesus, what was Cole into? My heart pounded against my ribcage as I broke into a run and hauled ass across the property and back to my car. The soles of my feet ached and screamed as pieces of gravel bit my tender skin, but I couldn't stop. Cole killed someone. I had to figure out how to get home before he did and clean up. I couldn't let him know I'd been there and had witnessed him killing a man. A little voice in my head nudged me, reminding me that I hadn't been able to see everything from my hiding place. Maybe Cole hadn't delivered the final blow, but his knuckles were busted, so he definitely participated. Identifying my car, I nearly broke into a fit of maniacal laughter. First, Cole had humiliated me. Second, my best friend shared the video. Third, I witnessed a murder. The fact that my vehicle was no longer blocked wasn't the hilarious part. It was the Audi and Camry in front and behind mine. They'd been rolled over until they were no longer in the way, resting on their sides. That shit was funny, and I couldn't stop myself from laughing. Someone had decided to help me out even after the video fiasco. I just wish I knew who to thank. A part of me suspected David and his high school football buddies. It would take a team of strong people to move the vehicles. Using the key fob to unlock my doors, I shoved my feet into my shoes and climbed into my BMW. Glancing around, I started the engine, then maneuvered out of my parking spot and down the driveway. I hoped like hell I could beat my stepbrother home. The half-hour drive to my place was sheer torture. Not only did I have to get ahead of the video situation, but I had to pretend my life was normal. My heart twisted, leaving a painful ache in my chest. I'd also lost Zoe tonight. I shouldn't have ever told her about the recording, but I'd trusted her. My mistake. Once I arrived, I parked the car and used the side entrance. I quietly closed the door behind me and listened for any sounds or voices. Although I didn't hear anything, I was on the opposite side of the house from Cole's bedroom. I removed my heels, then tiptoed through the kitchen and into the living area. Multiple lights were on, but that didn't mean shit. Annabelle lived in one of the guest rooms, so I knew someone was here. I hurried to the stairs and took two at a time. Since it was dark, I realized that Cole hadn't made it home yet, and I heaved a sigh of relief as I rushed to my room. I spotted the doorknob on my bedroom door and made a mental note to replace it. I'd seen what Cole was capable of, and I wouldn't feel safe unless I could lock up from both sides. It would also keep him from snooping or planting a camera. I entered my room and froze. Chapter 6. I peeked over my shoulder, ensuring no one else was in the hallway, then I closed the door behind me.
Shay!
Zoe shot off my bed.
Please, we need to talk.
My pulse kicked up a notch. I didn't want to discuss a damn thing with Zoe. She'd done enough damage to last a lifetime, and I had more serious shit to deal with. She could wait. I have nothing to say to you. You leaked the video instead of erasing it. End of story. Zoe's face paled.
I didn't leak the video, Shay. That's what I've been trying to tell you. If you would just give me a minute and let me explain.
I glanced over at Isabel, Sybil, and Danny as they sat on the edge of my bed, wearing hopeful expressions. They all nodded in unison, supporting Zoe. Danny nervously twirled a lock of her long brown hair around her finger. Out of all of us, she dealt with the most anxiety from her picture-perfect family. I don't believe you. I folded my arms over my chest, staring at her. Do you know what you did tonight? Not only am I ruined, but every guy will be trying to fuck me, and every girl will try to slut-shame me. Don't even get me started if this reaches Daddy or Julia. I dropped my arms, disgusted with Zoe. Even if we'd been in a huge argument, I would have never betrayed her the way she had me.
Are you fucking kidding me? How long have we known each other?
Zoe placed her hands on her slender waist and tapped her Coach tennis shoes against the floor. Since elementary school, I snapped. Too long for you to have fucked me over like that. I mean, seriously, Zoe. My nostrils flared. We're supposed to be best friends. I trusted you to help me, and instead, this is what I get? My eyes flared in warning, furious with her. She was lucky I didn't punch her in her perky little nose.
Trusted me? You hid your extracurricular activities for 3 years.
She held up 3 fingers in my face like I wasn't capable of counting on my own. I smacked her hand away, my gaze narrowing. You were the only one that had his access code and knew the video was there.
First, you're being a total bitch, Shay. Zoe spat. Second, you're not listening to a word I've said, so let me say it one more time in hopes I can get through to that thick-ass brain of yours.
She tapped her finger against her temple.
I did not release the video. I couldn't find Cole's phone. I swear, I would never, ever do that to you.
She blew out a sigh, her expression softening.
I know what it looks like, but you've known me for years. I've never hurt you on purpose. I've never been that malicious to you either. Others? Sure, but never you. Please, Shay, you're my best friend. You have to believe me. I wouldn't do that.
Still fucking furious, a little voice inside my head told me to listen to her. Zoe had never screwed me over before. She knew what was at stake. Plus, I bailed her out of some shitty situations and naked pictures a few times as well. My thoughts whirled around, sifting through the events of the party. Rubbing my temples, I realized a critical piece of information. Now that I think about it, I didn't see Cole's phone in his back pocket. I stared at the floor, trying to process all of this while my brain was still fuzzy from the alcohol.
That's because he didn't have it, Shay. After Cole escorted you out, I knew my time was limited, so I asked him to dance.
She chewed on her lower lip.
I might have run my hands over his ass checking for his phone. It wasn't in his back or front pocket.
A light flush crept across Zoe's cheeks. Glad you enjoyed feeling up my brother, I snapped. Chills skated down my spine as I recalled his mouth brushing against my ear earlier, only half an hour before he killed someone.
Stepbrother,
the girls said in unison. I dropped my arms, my defenses with Zoe softening. You really didn't find his cell? He always has it with him. She shook her head adamantly.
I swear on my Grandma Bess's grave.
Her doe eyes pleaded with me to trust her. I blew out a heavy sigh. I believe you. Zoe nearly knocked me backward as she barreled toward me, throwing her arms around my neck.
I'm so sorry, Shay. I feel like shit that the recording got leaked.
I hugged her in return, grateful she hadn't betrayed me. It was almost more than I could deal with. Me too. I should check Cole's bedroom for his cell, just in case it's there. If you see him, please stall him and talk loudly. Zoe released me.
I'll keep a lookout. Go!
She shooed me away, hope flickering across her expression. Hurrying across the hall, I frantically searched Cole's desk, dresser, nightstand, and everywhere I could think of, but there was no sign of his fucking phone. Defeated, I hurried back to the girls. Couldn't find it anywhere. I sighed and flung my shoes in the corner. Then Zoe and I plopped down on the bed with the others. Isabel tucked her legs beneath her, her gaze filled with expectancy.
Okay, I'm so glad that's over. You two were scary. But now, I need to understand what in the hell is going on since everyone has chilled out again.
What do you want to know? You've all seen parts of the video, so nothing is off limits at this point. I grabbed one of my blue and white striped throw pillows and propped my back against it. Sybil raised her hand. I want to ask you something. Did the anal hurt? I nearly rolled my eyes at her. Sybil and I had known each other for almost as long as Zoe and I had. At one time, our fathers had worked together, at least until Daddy started his own business. Greg had turned down Daddy's offer to work with him, but I suspected he wished he'd hopped on the opportunity. Daddy had recently been named in Forbes. His name was splashed everywhere. Samuel Wessex, one of the wealthiest men of the year. His company, WebLink, had grown tremendously in the last few years. A swell of pride filled me. I couldn't be prouder of Daddy, but he wouldn't say the same about me if he found out about the recording. Leave it to Sybil to ask about the sex, not something helpful for me to figure out who had released the recording. So bad. My ass is still sore, and that video is from earlier today. Zoe huffed.
Of course it did. Pussy juices aren't enough of a lube. Ibrahim finger-fucked you for a second, then went for it. Lube. Every time, Shay.
We all knew she and her ex-boyfriend had tried every toy and anal sex the 2 years they were together. Sybil's mouth rounded in an O. Will you do it again?
What she said.
Danny pointed at Sybil. I think so. My thoughts traveled to this afternoon with Ibrahim and Matt, realizing it had been my last. It's not like I can play with Ibrahim and Matt anymore, though.
I think we should all get on the same page with our story to help Shay.
Danny frowned, appearing deep in thought.
Start with the facts. How did all of this happen?
Isabel bounced on her knees, excitement bubbling from her.
Wait, before we get to that, I need to know how Cole got so fucking hot.
She fanned her face and pretended to swoon. I would have laughed if the situation had been different, but my best friends had no idea Cole had killed someone. I toyed with telling them, but I was afraid it would put them in danger. Plus, I wasn't sure if Cole was part of the MC or not. There were too many unknowns to risk their safety. What is up with you guys? He comes home for the summer and you're all in heat? I didn't bother to mask the disgust in my voice. Zoe elbowed me in the side.
Tone it down, girl.
Isabel frowned, her forehead creasing.
Shay, he's always been hot, but I nearly orgasmed just looking at him when we were at the party.
Her brown eyes widened as she pretended to wipe the drool off her chin. Ew, Isabel, I scolded. He's my brother. Can you chill a little? I huffed, hating that she was right and that the bastard had strolled back into my life for the summer, looking hot as hell. Zoe scrunched up her nose. The girl had the most perfect mouth I'd ever seen. People paid good money to have a full and matching lower and upper lip.
Why do you insist on calling him your brother, Shay? You're in no way related, so you should have been hitting that instead of your dad's staff.
An uncontrollable blush crawled up my neck and cheeks. Zoe! The girls giggled while Zoe gave me a half-hearted shrug.
I would totally be down. Same,
Isabel agreed.
Shit, I'd even let him use my body,
Danny added, running her fingertips down her side. A silly grin eased across Sybil's face. I say we sneak into his room in the middle of the night, tie him down, and all take turns riding him. I waved my hands in front of me, tired of Cole's physique dominating our conversation. Enough! Holy crap, my best friends were talking about gang-raping Cole. Everyone settled down, then I explained to them about the afternoon with Ibrahim, Matt, and catching Cole watching the video. They might be able to help me think this through. Maybe I should tell Daddy before he sees it. It could cause a lot of damage to his company, and for Julia too. I groaned loudly and flung myself backward onto my stack of pillows. Why hadn't I figured this out? Cole was probably the bastard that leaked it after he saw me at Harrison's party. Zoe quirked a dark eyebrow at me.
I could have helped you with that. When he saw you at Harrison's, he most likely released it before he hauled your ass out. Maybe he decided to punish you for disobeying him.
I propped my head on my fist. When have I ever obeyed Cole?
When he cock-blocked you every time you got asked out in high school? Danny added. No wonder you messed around with the staff. You were doomed the second Cole showed up in your life.
Danny's expression flickered with sympathy. Zoe reached over and took my hand in hers.
You and your dad are super tight, even more so since your mom died.
A sharp stab to my heart sent pain rippling through my chest. Daddy and I were close, but so were Mom and me. Until the day I'd excitedly skipped through the front door of our house from drama club late one afternoon and found her dead on the kitchen floor. She passed away when I was 13, but it felt like yesterday. I swallowed over the lump in my throat, attempting to control the swell of grief. Later, we'd learned it was a brain aneurysm. It was over in a second for her, but for Daddy and me, the pain would last a lifetime. I'd struggled when Daddy sat me down and told me he was dating someone new. He'd only waited a year before he'd started dating, then he met Julia, and they were married by the time I was 15 and Cole 16. Daddy has always told me I have to own my fuck-ups. I cringed.
Yup, this was definitely a fuck-up.
Isabel added air quotes for emphasis. Sybil snickered.
Sorry, I know this isn't funny. What do you think he's going to do?
Cut me out of the will? I replied without a second thought. Make me work for a humble living for the rest of my life? I'll have to sell everything I own to pay for college, then live in a... I shuddered before I ever spoke the word. Dorm. Isabel's features fell.
Are you sure, Shay? Don't you think your dad did some stupid shit when he was younger?
I rubbed my neck, exhaustion weighing heavily on me. There was no way I could sleep, though. Each time I closed my eyes, I was afraid I would see the dead guy in my dreams. I have no idea. He's never shared any wild stories with me, but he might not have wanted me to get any ideas. As far as him cutting me out of the will? No, I'm not sure. I've never gotten caught before, but I do know he's going to be super pissed. I smoothed my blue and white comforter, unwilling to make eye contact with my friends.
If I were in your shoes, I would definitely talk to him first. He'll respect your honesty, and maybe the consequences won't be as drastic as disinheriting you.
Danny said, a hint of sadness weaved through her tone. Isabel shifted, sitting cross-legged.
I agree with Danny.
Sybil and Zoe nodded in agreement. Well, then I better figure out what to say to him because he'll be home tomorrow. Unease pumped through my veins. How in the hell would I have a conversation with my daddy about having sex with two men at the same time in his limo with his staff? I groaned and hid my face in my hands. A noise in the hallway pulled my attention away from my thoughts. I hopped off the bed and peeked out to see what I was hearing. Cole walked in my direction, talking softly on the phone, his expression grim. White, hot anger blossomed to life inside me, and I closed my door so the girls wouldn't hear me confront him. He jerked his head up, his gaze narrowing as he saw me. I curled my fingers into tight fists and marched into his room. I can't do this right now, Shay. He paused at his doorway. I didn't care what he did or didn't have time for. He owed me answers. Cole followed me and tossed his phone on the bed. His knuckles were bandaged, and the blood had been washed off his face. I saw you, I hissed. I saw what you did to that man, and you're involved with motorcycle thugs? Cole grabbed my shoulders and pinned me against the wall so fast my head spun. He lifted his brow, and I read all the words he hadn't spoken but conveyed perfectly. I had seriously overstepped with him. You gonna kill me too? I mean, you shared the video at the party, so why not murder two people in one night? I smirked, but my stomach flip-flopped like crazy. Cole glowed with fury as he pinned me to the spot with a white-hot glare. He boxed me in, placing his palms against the wall and closing the gap between us. We were toe to toe. A spark of electricity flickered through the air, causing me to gasp a delicious warmth spreading into every fiber of my being.
You have no idea what you're talking about.
His voice was calm, the quiet before the raging storm. Why did you release the video, Cole? I couldn't disguise the hurt in my tone.
Don't worry your pretty little head about it. What's done is done.
He trailed his knuckles down my cheek, the same ones that had killed another human being only hours ago. I sucked in a breath, my heartbeat breaking into a crazy gallop. Damage control. I managed to squeak out as his fingertips moved down my neck. Gulping, I tried again. I have to talk to Daddy. He'll be home tomorrow. You know he's going to come down on you. Did I really just tell him my plan? What the actual fuck happened to my brain when I was this close to him? Cole chuckled.
I can handle your father.
His attention dropped down to my breasts. I wondered what his mouth would feel like on them, his hot, warm tongue licking and sucking my nipples. Stay focused on the mission, Shay. Why did you do it? Cole leaned in, the tip of his nose brushing against my neck.
You make me so goddamn crazy,
he whispered.
Seeing you with Ibrahim and Matt.
He pushed away from me, seething.
How you deal with your problem is up to you.
He turned and approached his bed. Prick. I wouldn't have a situation to fix if it weren't for Cole. An uncontrollable rage rippled through me. As he reached out to collect his phone, I shot across the room and jumped on his back, wrapping my arms around his neck as tightly as I could manage. You picked the wrong girl to fuck with, you stupid bastard! Before I could throw him to the ground, Cole spun on his heel and flopped back on the bed, pinning me against the mattress. He grabbed my hands and easily peeled my fingers away from his skin. Rolling over, he worked his legs between mine, secured my wrists above my head, and hovered a few inches over me. With harrowing, intense eyes, he glared at me.
Don't open Pandora's box.
His hips lowered against mine, and my mouth gaped when I felt his erection pressing into my jeans. He was getting off on tormenting me. Cole shifted, allowing me to feel the entire length of his cock, his slightly parted lips directly above mine. I sucked in a breath, mentally begging him to rip off my clothes and fuck me hard. Cole shot off me and pointed to the door. Get out. His steely tone left no room for negotiation. I rose and adjusted my shirt and smoothed my hair, horrified that he'd played me again. I fucking hate you, I spat.
Good.
I'd never had hate sex before, but for the first time, I was willing to try it. Composing myself, I tilted my chin in the air and marched out of his room, clinging to what little dignity I had left. I didn't bother closing the door. He could do it his damn self.
Girl, what happened?
Isabel asked the second I had reached the group again. I confronted Cole. Zoe climbed off the bed and joined me, pity rolling off her in waves.
What did he say?
For me not to worry about it? He refused to say anything else. His dick had spoken for him loud and clear, though. He'd loved dominating me. The memory of his hands holding my wrists, the heaviness of his body against mine, the mattress dipping beneath our weight. No! A shiver danced up my spine as I tried to calm my thoughts. No matter how my hormones hummed with need, I couldn't lose sight of the fact he'd killed someone and humiliated me in public. Danny stared a hole in me.
That's all? You look flustered as hell.
I'm fine. I have to pee. I tucked my hair behind my ear and headed to my bathroom where I could have a minute alone. After locking myself in, I leaned against the wall and closed my eyes. I didn't understand what had happened with Cole. One second, I was pissed. The next, horny and mentally pleading for him to touch me. Shit, maybe I was bipolar. My emotions and hormones were bouncing around faster than a ping pong ball during a championship match. I hurried to the sink, turned on the cold water, and rinsed my face. Glancing into the mirror, I noticed sad blue eyes returned my stare. At that moment, I questioned who I really was. I'd never considered the idea I was a bad person before. A bitch, sure, but not an awful human being. Now, I was facing the consequences of my choices. Plus, I'd risked my daddy's respect and trust. But Cole? I groaned. My attempt to blackmail him with the murder was a hard fail. I squared my shoulders and reminded myself that I was still a Wessex, intelligent, strong, and courageous. I quickly ran a brush through my hair before returning to my friends and plotting my next move. I wasn't sure what it was, but something was off about the entire situation, from the video to the motorcycle gang to the murder. How could I have been so wrong about who Cole really was? There was only one way to find out, and I was up for the challenge. If I was going down, then so was he. Chapter 7. Prying my eyelids open, I smacked the top of my nightstand in an attempt to locate my phone. My fingers wrapped around the case and I peered at the time. Holy shit, it was almost noon. I bolted upright as the reminder that Daddy would be home soon bitch-slapped me. By the time the girls left, it had been nearly 4 a.m. I was exhausted from the drama and had practically fallen into bed with my clothes on. Tossing the blankets off me, I placed my feet against the soft carpet and stretched. A hot shower would clear my head and help me decide what I would say to Daddy. Knots twisted my stomach as I imagined the look of disappointment on his face. The mere thought of it gutted me. I'd always been the apple of Daddy's eye, but it would change after I confessed about Ibrahim and Matt. I dragged my feet to the bathroom, my thoughts running rampant. I'd considered telling Daddy about Cole and the gang, but it would come across as though I was trying to get out of trouble and redirect my father's attention to Cole. Honestly, it wasn't a bad idea. This mess was Cole's fault. I fucking owed him. Half an hour later, I was clean and had dried my hair. I finally realized what I needed to say to Daddy. Why it hadn't crossed my mind to bury Cole before, I wasn't sure. I'd probably been too shaken up after the party and Cole's activities afterwards. After I dressed in jean shorts and a soft pastel pink top that clung to my curves, I applied a light application of makeup, then hurried down the stairs to the kitchen. A double pumpkin spice latte sounded perfect for fueling my revenge plan. I might kiss my inheritance goodbye, but so would Cole. I had no problem taking the bastard down with me. I smirked as my bare feet padded along the marble floors and the necessary pieces fell into place. I would make sure Cole never fucked with me again. I made my way to the espresso maker, still mulling over my plan. I grabbed the 2% milk from the fridge, checked the water level on the machine, then selected a big cup from the white cabinet. The best thing about this kitchen was the size. When Julia and Cole were settling in, Cole constantly had his head in the refrigerator, stuffing his face. If the space hadn't been as large as it was, no one else would have been able to nudge their way in. Not that he cared. Once my latte was ready, I squeezed the pumpkin pie spice bottle, covering my perfectly foamed milk in yummy goodness. I took a sip. Perfection. No matter what was going on in my life, good coffee always made it better. I leaned against the black and white marble counter and released a heavy sigh, my ears picking up at a familiar voice down the hall. Hurrying to Daddy's office, my heart soared at the thought that he was home. Until I remembered the video. His door was open, and I poked my head in and grinned. He nodded and motioned for me to sit down while finishing his phone call. I pushed the door closed, then settled into the brown chair, the leather cool on the back of my bare legs. Nervously, I crossed my ankles, then uncrossed them again. I forced myself not to tap my manicured nails against the ceramic mug since Daddy was talking, and I didn't want to distract him. Tension snaked through my shoulders, and I gave myself a pep talk. I was doing the right thing by telling Daddy, but this fucking sucked on so many levels. Every fiber in my being wanted to bolt out of the door and never tell him. However, if it affected his company and reputation, I would never forgive myself. He'd worked so hard, and I was proud of him. I couldn't be the one responsible for toppling his empire.
Talk to you later.
Dad grinned at me, then disconnected the call. He placed his cell on his desk, then stood. I set my mug down on the end table and ran to him. "Daddy!" I threw my arms around his neck as he hugged me in return. His chuckle rumbled through his chest.
Hey, princess. How's my girl?
He released me and pressed a sweet kiss against my forehead. Good. Glad to be home for the summer. I flashed him a winning grin, attempting to appear calm and collected, even though I was falling apart inside myself. How was I going to tell him about Ibrahim and Matt? He would be furious with me. I spotted several streaks of gray in Daddy's dark head of hair. I was most likely prejudiced, but he was handsome for an older guy. He could probably have any woman he wanted, but he fell for Julia for some reason. She was pretty, but not quite as equal, in my opinion. Sitting down again, I glanced out of the window at the back patio and swimming pool. After I spilled my guts about screwing the staff, I wasn't sure I would even be allowed to live here any longer. A ball of puke wedged itself into my throat, blocking my windpipe. A cold film of sweat covered every inch of my body as it fully dawned on me that I could lose Daddy.
What's the matter, princess?
Dad shuffled a few papers on his desk, smoothed his light blue button-down shirt, then folded his hands in his lap and gave me his undivided attention. I sucked in a deep breath as my knee bounced uncontrollably. Tears welled in my eyes. I'm so sorry, Daddy. My voice cracked and my legs started to shake. I messed up really bad, and then I saw something horrible. He leaned back in his chair, assessing me.
I'm listening.
I sniffed and grabbed a tissue from the box on the table next to me. I need to tell you what I did so you can be prepared in case it hurts you or Weblink. Blowing out a shaky breath, I braced myself for the worst. I stared at my lap, then held my daddy's gaze. I had sex with Ibrahim and Matt, and somehow it was recorded. Then the video was leaked last night. I think Cole did it. When I left the party, I got turned around and walked the wrong way across Harrison's property. I stumbled on a group of men. I'm pretty sure they were a motorcycle gang. They had no idea I was there, but when they moved, I saw Cole beating a man until he actually died. If you don't believe me, he has bandages on his knuckles. A slash of anger flickered in Daddy's gray-blue eyes, and he stared a hole straight into my soul. If he only understood how awful I felt, maybe he could forgive me. Please say something, I whispered, muffling my cry. He stood and turned his back to me, looking out the window and placing his hands on his hips.
I raised you better, Shay.
His voice was low and full of disappointment, which was way worse than if he'd yelled at me. I also realized he hadn't called me princess. It was time that I accepted I'd fallen from the throne. I know. I'm so sorry. I wiped my nose, wishing this was all a bad dream. You taught me to own my mistakes, and I didn't think it was right if someone else showed you or told you about the video first. He turned slowly, grimacing.
I found out last night, but I'm glad you had the courage to tell me. I was wondering if you would talk to me or try to hide it. I'd planned on acting as though nothing had happened, testing to see if you would do the right thing.
I gripped the armchairs, hoping like hell he hadn't seen me with Ibrahim and Matt. Ow! I managed to squeak out. Daddy shoved his hands in the pockets of his black slacks.
I arrived home late and Cole was waiting for me. He explained about the recording and that you caught him in a compromising situation last night.
What the fuck? Murder is not a compromising situation. My pulse quickened and my blood crashed through my ears. That twisted bastard! I had to stay calm. I could deal with Cole later. Right now, I had to figure out how to get back into Daddy's good graces.
I fired Ibrahim immediately. Matt is no longer welcome on my property, and I had a chat with Matt's father first thing today. I also got in touch with my team to manage any press. The video was deleted and removed from social media early this morning, so there won't be any more damage.
My pulse was erratic, my palms pulsing with sweat. Damn it, Cole. I didn't even have to say a word to Daddy. It only took a second to realize that I still did the right thing by coming forward. If Daddy already knew about the recording and I never said anything, things would look much bleaker. They sucked, but I would do everything in my power to make it up to Daddy. I bit my lip, forcing myself to remain quiet and receive the consequences. I felt awful for Ibrahim too. After the video was leaked, I was powerless to protect him.
At first, I was going to remove you from the will, but you showed up and faced the problem head on. You were honest with me. However, until I see you're behaving like a responsible adult, your funds are frozen. I'm sorry, Shay. It pains me to make that decision, but you've left me no choice.
My shoulders slumped. Do I have to move out?
No, but your spending limit will be reduced to necessities only, and that includes no more shopping sprees. If Julia wants to take you, that's her decision. You'll need clothes for the school year, but for now, your credit card account is restricted.
Disappointment registered across his handsome features. I understand. I rose, his painstaking expression trampling my heart. I'll make this right, I promise. I dragged my feet to the door, then turned around. What about Cole? He killed a man last night. He's hanging around awful people. Are we safe while he lives in the house? Daddy massaged the back of his neck.
Cole isn't your concern, Shay. I've already dealt with the situation.
The situation? So you didn't cut him off financially?
There's more to it, Shay. End of discussion.
If I'd been 2 years old, I would have stomped my foot and thrown a bitch fit. When I had done something wrong, I was punished. However, I just learned an important nugget of information. Cole could do whatever he wanted and not deal with any consequences. I knew the situation was my own fault. I'd spilled my plan to Cole like I was a dog in heat. The second it had flown out of my mouth, I realized I'd fucked up. I'd meant to threaten him and gain some leverage about the video, but he'd turned the tables on me. I left the office with my tail between my legs, ashamed and embarrassed for being so stupid and thinking I could actually persuade Daddy to give Cole hell. Suddenly feeling sick to my stomach, I wanted to hide in my room until dinner. Maybe I would crawl back into bed and binge on Netflix. I moped across the house and up the stairs. Reaching the hallway, I stopped, my ears perking up at the sound of Cole's deep voice. I glanced around, then tiptoed to his closed door and listened.
Fuck! Are you kidding me?
Cole asked, clearly upset. I could imagine him running his hand through his blonde hair, rumpling it enough to look sexy as hell.
Are you sure? If so, we have a huge fucking problem.
My forehead creased.
Hang on a minute, I've got another call.
I pressed my ear to the door, straining to hear him.
Hey.
Cole purred, his sultry tone sending shivers coasting over my skin.
Yeah, I'll be there. He chuckled. I won't forget. Bye.
Irritation swept over me. Who was he talking to? Was it a girl? It was a well-known fact that Cole fucked a chick once, then tossed her to the side as soon as he got off. This conversation seemed different, though. I backed away, tiptoeing to my room and closing the door behind me. Why would I care if Cole was seeing someone? Other than the fact he had reduced my dating life to nothing, the second a guy learned that Cole was my brother, they practically ran in the other direction, even at college. If they had enough balls to ask me out, Cole always managed to find out and cock-block me. I hadn't ever been able to learn why, which bothered me. I honestly wondered if they were scared of Cole. They should be. Hell, I should be. But even after last night, I wasn't terrified of Cole like a normal person should be. Flopping in the middle of the bed, I stared at the white ceiling. I sent Zoe a quick text and provided her with the details of how things had gone down with Daddy. I asked her to let Danny, Sybil, and Isabel know as well. I didn't have the energy to chat with them. Before I put my phone down, I switched on the Do Not Disturb for the rest of the day. Still exhausted from yesterday's events, my eyelids grew heavy. There wasn't anything I could do to fix things with Daddy at the moment, so I might as well get some sleep before my entire life was turned upside down. Chapter 8. Over the next 4 days, my mood took a sharp nosedive, and I hid in my room unless Daddy needed me. The sun had also given me a big fuck you and cloaked itself behind thick gray clouds. Inviting Zoe over and lounging around the pool wasn't an option without sunshine. I couldn't shop to soothe my nerves either. My cell vibrated with a message, and I scooped it off my nightstand and peeked at the time. It wasn't even 10 in the morning. Tapping the screen, I opened Zoe's text. "Get your booty out of bed. I'm coming to get you." Quickly, I typed out a response. "I haven't showered or gotten dressed." The tiny dots bounced as I waited for her to reply.
"I'm not taking no for an answer, so get your cute ass in gear or look like a bag lady in public. Your choice."
A frustrated groan escaped me, and I dramatically flung the covers to the other side of the mattress. I rubbed my face, realizing my tangled hair would be a mess to deal with. One thing was for sure, I did not want to be seen looking like a fucking train wreck. I'd successfully hidden from Cole as well, refusing to give him the satisfaction of having a front row seat to my spiraling mood. I rose, stretched, then made my way to the bathroom. An hour later, I was dressed in cute black shorts and a red crop top. Even if I was poor for the time being, no one else had to know other than Zoe and our group of friends. I still had a closet full of designer clothes. Plus, Zoe and I wore the same sizes, and we often borrowed each other's jeans and tops. I gathered my phone and Gucci handbag, then stepped into the hall. Staring at Cole's closed door, I pulled mine shut behind me, the click ringing through the silence. I narrowed my eyes and imagined lighting his room on fire with him in it. To my disappointment, my psychic powers were severely lacking, and the son of a bitch would live another day. Tilting my chin up and squaring my shoulders, I made my way downstairs into the kitchen. I halted when I saw Julia sitting on the bar stool at the counter. I cleared my throat, waiting for the disapproving look from my stepmom. "Hey," I softly said as I headed to the refrigerator for something to eat. I removed the fresh turkey breast, light mayonnaise, and cheddar cheese, then grabbed the focaccia bread. My appetite had been next to nothing lately, but it seemed like it was returning. I had to fuel my brain to plot my revenge on Cole, too. "Hi, hun. How are you doing? You've been scarce since your dad got home." She laid her pen on top of an open notebook, her gaze full of compassion. Julia's dark hair was angled in a bob, accentuating her pretty face. Some of her best features were her blue eyes and cheekbones, but I would kill for her facial structure. I guess it's no use pretending that I didn't screw up royally. I rummaged through the silverware drawer for a knife and focused on making a sandwich before Zoe arrived. "It was a shock, but not the end of the world, Shay. Your dad will forgive you. I know he laid down some consequences, but he was really proud of you for coming to him as soon as he was home." I glanced at her, tears welling in my eyes. The worst part is that I hurt Daddy, and Ibrahim lost his job. He sends money to his family in Nigeria every month, and now he won't be able to. I screwed everything up. Julia slid off her seat and joined me on the other side of the island. "Do you want a hug?" "Why are you being so nice to me?" Julia had never been mean, but she and I weren't close. "Because I've had my share of mistakes that had big consequences, Shay." She tucked my hair behind my ear. "So has Samuel. Your dad tried to be fair, but he was torn up about it. We never went to sleep after he arrived home that night. Cole was waiting for him, then I woke up when he came to bed. He told me everything. We also talked about the stupid shit we did at yours and Cole's ages. I just want you to know that you're not alone. We still love you, Shay. Take the mistake and learn from it. My chin trembled as I hugged her. Thank you. I want to make this right. Julia returned my embrace, then released me. Get out of the house today and get some fresh air. It will help. She offered me a kind smile. My cell lit up with a message from Zoe.
I'm outside.
I grabbed a sandwich baggie and stuffed my food into it. I'm going out with Zoe for the day. Good. Have some fun. She patted me on the arm. I wanted to tell her that I couldn't shop or have a spa afternoon, so I doubted it would be much fun, but I was just pouting. Zoe and I had spent tons of days together not spending money. Thanks. I pulled a napkin from the holder and walked toward the front door. Oh, Shay? I glanced over my shoulder at Julia. I'm sorry you had to get tangled up in Cole's problems. Maybe steer clear of him for a while. He's a bit moodier than usual. He has a lot going on. Guilt flickered across her features. Sure. I should have felt guilty for lying, but I didn't. What was such a big deal that justified Cole killing someone and treating me like shit? Honestly, I didn't give a rat's ass about whatever issues he was dealing with. All I cared about was making him pay for what he'd done to me. I left the house and spotted Zoe's red convertible. She hadn't lowered the top, which worked for me. I wasn't in the mood to try to manage my hair after it had been wind-whipped. I climbed into the front passenger seat and buckled up. Zoe shook her head.
Girl, you look sad as fuck.
Thanks, Zoe. Your pep talk is exactly what I need. And to think I was about to say that your yellow shirt looked hot on you. I quirked a brow at her, irritated. I placed a hand on the door handle. If our day together is going to be full of encouraging words, then I'll pass. Zoe slid her sunglasses up on top of her head.
Thanks. The shirt is new. And I'm sorry. It surprised me is all. I mean, I know you've been in a funk, but I didn't realize it was this bad.
She smoothed her white shorts, then shifted the car into drive and rolled out of the driveway. My attention landed on the limo parked to the side, and my heart skipped a beat. Zoe looked at me from the corner of her eye.
Don't even go there, Shay.
Go where?
Beating yourself up for Ibrahim getting fired. He had a lot of fun with you over the last few years, by choice. He was well aware of the risks, so Samuel firing him is on Ibrahim, not you. You have your own mess to fix.
I still feel guilty, though. I shifted in my seat, staring at the abundance of pine trees as we drove into town.
Good. I would be worried about you if you didn't. But unless you need to talk about it, I say let's get our nails done, buy some ice cream, then head to the liquor store.
I gave her a wistful expression. I can't. My credit card is frozen, remember? Zoe batted her dark eyelashes at me, then blew me a kiss.
Bitch, what are best friends for?
She giggled, then took my hand in hers.
It's going to be okay, Shay. I know it doesn't feel like it now, but it will.
Thanks. As long as I had my girls and my relationship with Daddy was repairable, I believed her. I absolutely had to stay away from Cole. Anytime I was around him, my intelligence dribbled right out of my ear and onto the floor. When he was near, I was a stupid hormonal mess. That wasn't who I was, and if he held that kind of power over me, I would pretend he didn't exist until I was able to form and implement a plan. Sweet, satisfying revenge was the balm I needed to soothe my soul. Over the next several hours, Zoe did everything possible to cheer me up. She even had me in a fit of giggles at one point. It was a relief to think about something else for a while. My fingers and toenails looked good again, and it was nice to relax and have a mimosa while we made plans for the summer. Zoe had reminded me that, even though Daddy had restricted my funds, I had 4 very wealthy friends who loved me and that our vacation wasn't ruined. Once I discussed the situation with Zoe, she was on board with the idea of a new doorknob for my bedroom and happily stopped by the store. We agreed that I would feel better if I could lock the door from the outside when I left the house. Fortunately, I'd had enough emergency cash on me to make the purchase, which was a huge relief. After we picked up takeout from P.F. Chang's, Zoe eased to the edge of the restaurant's parking lot, and my heart jumped into my throat. "Wait!" I grabbed Zoe's arm. "I'll be right back." I opened the car door and hurried to the side of the street. After looking both ways, I jogged to the other side. "Ibrahim, wait!" I weaved through the afternoon crowd, hoping to catch up with him. Ibrahim had been walking in the opposite direction when I'd spotted him. I had to know if he'd found work or if he was so angry with me that he never wanted to look at me again. He peered over his shoulder, then came to a stop, waiting for me to reach him. My sneakers smacked against the sidewalk as I grew closer. "I am so sorry, Ibrahim." I slowed a few feet ahead of him. "Are you okay?" A sarcastic smile eased across his face. At times, I forgot how tall Ibrahim was until I was next to him. His 6'4" frame towered over my 5'7". His dark eyes flashed with anger. "Although I'm furious, I'll be fine." "Ibrahim." I reached for his hand. "I had no clue about the video. I swear. I would never hurt us like that." He glanced around nervously, then returned his attention to me. "What happened?" At least he was willing to hear me out. "Apparently, cameras were in the limo." I pressed my mouth into a thin line, a rush of guilt squeezing my chest. "I had no idea. Please believe me." Zoe's words rang through my thoughts as I pleaded with him. She had said the same to me the other evening. "While I was at a party to kick off summer vacation, someone leaked the recording. Memories of everyone laughing, pointing, and gaping tortured me. I wasn't sure I would be able to move past it." I gulped, trying to assess where Ibrahim's mind was at the moment, but his expression wasn't revealing his feelings. My cheeks and neck heated with shame. "Then someone cast it to the big screen television. Our afternoon was on full display." I looked away from him, anger rushing to a boil inside me. "So, I will be slut-shamed or laughed at for the rest of my life, but even worse, you lost your job." My chin trembled with my confession. "This mess is all my fault, and I just wanted to tell you that I'm sorry." Ibrahim's brows knitted together. "I've never heard you apologize before, to me or anyone else. Hearing those words means a lot to me. Thank you." I should go. Zoe is waiting for me. I kind of jumped out of her car and left her up the street. The corner of my lips turned up in a smile.